My name is Abraham, and I'm a motion designer, a seasonal skateboarder, an adult legally, but I'm not very good at it. I love simple shapes, clever design, intentional movement, and a good doner kebab. That is very important, especially the last one. This is a presentation I really hope you guys are going to enjoy, that I totally planned really hard, well ahead of time, about some of the stuff I've had the opportunity to work on in Blender and outside over the last couple of years. So I many moons ago, God knows back when, I developed like an interest for digital design when I was like finishing college and sort of like making my way to uni. Funny enough, that monochrome GIF that says UI design currently was like an exercise we were given at uni to sort of like explore the things that we were interested in. I've got like so I wanted to do everything: UI design, branding, motion, visual, like data viz and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's kind of what got me interested in design. It was a lot of this idea of creating something delightful for people to sort of like interact with and sort of like just get to witness, I suppose. Safe to say I didn't leave the house very often because this stuff is hard to make. And yeah, so these are just a bunch of experiments, motion experiments, 3D experiments, and UX and UI branding stuff that I've done. I got to do whilst sort of like finishing college / starting uni and whatnot. It's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. My parents were concerned I didn't leave my room very often, but it was good, I think. And then fast forward like a year later, I fell in love with motion design, which specifically 2D motion design, because you know, it's an honor sharing my work here right now, but honestly, like, you guys need to check out some of the motion design work that gets done by individuals and studios out there. It's some of the most inspiring thing ever. Like, I remember watching this reel from this guy called Jarek Nest, and he's a studio founder at the studio called Ordinary Folk in Vancouver, Canada, and one of the many amazing studios that do motion design. And there's something to be said about being able to communicate something profound and simple, or something being fun or energetic with some of the simplest design elements you can. And it's an art, it's a craft to be able to do that really well. I don't know how well I'm doing it, but I like to try. And it's 2D motion design is something I love doing. I love having the freedom to express myself with it, and just like, yeah, just poke around and like experiment with different things. Yeah, and it's something, it takes a while to get used to get good at, I suppose, like anything that we do. And yeah, like I just hope to keep getting better at it. I'm by no means great at it, despite me giving a presentation right now, so don't be fooled. I like to make a lot of colorful, weird stuff, and yeah, just poke around. This is a combination of personal and client projects I've got to work on. Actually, mostly personal stuff, because usually client stuff can be a bit dull. So I'm just going to cheat and show you the cool stuff, I think. But whilst I was like falling in love with 2D motion design, I also started falling in love with 3D. It's a bit of a cheat, but this isn't actually Blender's like Scene 4D, so I hope that's okay. But yeah, so like I fell in love with 2D motion design, but I discovered Blender in my final year from first year, at the end of my first year, through like a unit we had to do. And I'd done 3D before using Scene 4D, but it was ugly as hell. It was like R21, where everything was skeuomorphic and gray, and it felt like death, and it was expensive. I was like, not gonna do that. And then I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then we had this unit that we had to 3D print stuff, and we also obviously model it. And then I messed around with Blender 2.8, which, if anyone's familiar with, is actually wow, it's old now, but it's probably one of the biggest major updates Blender's witnessed so far. Like, the UI got completely revamped, and it's sexy. I'm sorry, can I say that? Is that appropriate to say? It is a really sexy piece of UI and piece of software, if I may say. Especially compared to what it looked like before, making it a lot more accessible to people. And it's only gotten better since then. God, the updates. It was 2.8, now they're like 5.1 or something. 5.1 is in beta soon. It's done a lot of progress, and it just made 3D more accessible and a little bit like less daunting, I suppose. These are some of the nicer things I played with, but I made even a lot shittier things, obviously following tutorials, which I obviously still need to do. It's probably water is really wow. I followed a lot of tutorials and made a lot of shitty things, but these are some of the nicer things that I that sort of like kind of make me tear up a little bit. That was one of my very first renders in Blender, following like a Ducky 3D tutorial, and it's quite fun. And ever since then, I sort of like tried to approach most of my uni modules, I suppose, on their lens. Most of the modules just like trying to do as much 2D motion design and 3D as much as I could, even if they weren't really the right approach, but who cares? I don't want to pay for it anyway. But anyways, fast forward a couple of years, and I was very fortunate to be able to join a wonderful studio here in Brighton, the reason why I moved down here. But after a while, I kind of started feeling a bit like I wasn't really growing, and I'd forgotten how to play, which is probably one of the biggest things you can do to grow as a creative, or even as a technical person. I'd forgotten how to play. Yeah, and I felt like I was falling behind. I was focusing more on the tools. I was literally on the Blender developer website every single day. I still do that today, I'm not proud. But addictions are hard to beat. Yeah, I was on the Blender developer website almost every single day, looking at what was coming up next instead of actually using the tools, which is really dangerous. It's not good. You shouldn't be like focused too much on the tools and not on creating. It's just weird. And I felt like I needed to do more for myself to grow, and yeah, I just felt like I needed to do more. So I felt like making some noodles. And back then, I didn't know it was going to be Noodlz. I didn't even have a name for it, but there was a project, like there was this artist I come across called Jonathan the Job Nukundo. He's an amazing illustrator, artist, and director. He's based in London actually, but he went to like this really prestigious animation school called Gobelins in Paris, and he's a master at this craft in terms of storytelling and design and storyboarding, and it's just amazing. There's a snippet of his work in one of the future slides, but I was really inspired by a lot of his line work, and just like him being able to create these little worlds and these little ideas from like simple things. And he doesn't pride himself as a good animator, but he's fantastic at it. Everything the guy like spends enough time doing it is just absolutely brilliant. And I was just like, I think since the pandemic, I was trying to encourage myself to sketch more and really take time off screens and just like sketch and be a kid again. I even sketched 15 minutes before coming down here. Yeah, it's just something I do, and I sort of gave myself the sort of like challenge to sketch stuff that was inspired by his work about a year and a half or so ago. Almost 2 years now, God, this is so long. And yeah, that kind of just, 99.9% of the sketches never really go anywhere. But every now and then I would come across these really interesting compositions and like sculptural things I would sketch. And I was like, I would kind of draw like a little asterisk on them. So like, okay, maybe I could turn this into something. I'm not sure what. Maybe like a 2D vector thing, or like a 3D render, or like an animation. And I would just save it for later and then carry on with my day. And get existential about how good I am or how little I know, or whatever. But yeah, I would just making these notes, and eventually I've made enough sketches that really, I was like, oh crap, I felt like an itch to actually bring some of these to life, not necessarily through animation, but just like bring them to life through digital, the stuff I usually play around with. So this is just like a small fraction of all the sketches I've done related to this sort of like series of tubes and things. I just love the simplicity of them and like the dynamism of them, and I gesticulate a lot. I grew up in Italy, so forgive this. But yeah. So after making all the sketches and kind of realizing that I wanted to bring some of those things to life, I actually I wanted to give myself a personal project and make like a series of renders. Originally they were meant to be 6, and this was one of the first ones I played with, and the focus there was lighting. That's the thing I love the most. I can't model to save my life. I'm not really good at animating, but I can kind of light things semi-decently. So that's the kind of thing I wanted to focus on. And I like color. So I wanted to play with color palettes and really good lighting. So that was sort of like one of the test renders I made. This was by accident as well. But it was fun. It was nice. It had potential, I thought, in my head. And then fast forward to like a couple of weekends later after work, I did the 6 renders, but I was like, I kind of had this itch again to like make some of them move. And again, I'm not the best animator. I can animate some 2D things, but I don't do 3D animation all that often. Or at least not at a level that I consume, so I didn't think I could really pull it off. But yeah, and then I just started like If anyone in the room uses After Effects, yes, thank you, I appreciate that. There's this script called create nulls from parts or something like that. Essentially what it does, yes, my guy knows. Okay, it's essentially like a script that, like, after you join some parts, it essentially it assigns a null, which is just like a non-rendering object that you just use to control the vertex of it. And what's really cool is that essentially you have like all these points that you can animate independently from each other, and it really it's cool because it's just like, oh my god, you're bringing this thing to life, and it feels like it's got a life of its own. Imagine like a dragon with like different points that just like animate in space, and it's just really cool. I made really direct eye contact with you as I was doing that. I apologize. I'm sorry. Anyways, so, and I was like, I was thinking to myself, what if I could do that in 3D? And that's when I kind of started playing around with this idea of like having 3 points. Oh yeah, 3 points, and sort of like using a hook in Blender. So there's a similar, what I just talked about in After Effects, it's actually built in Blender, thankfully, where you can assign hooks. You can assign a null to a hook that then sort of like assigns the vertex to it, and then you can just control that. But also geometry nodes. Anyone that uses them? No? Geometry nodes? Yes? You are geniuses, because I don't use it. That's the only geometry node thing I've ever done, like, since I've opened Blender. It's terrifying. I just don't use geometry nodes enough. It's really powerful and it's amazing, but I don't use it enough. Anyways, what this geometry node thing does, and this is literally a screenshot from the Blender website, what this entire thing does is really just like create like a fillet, like a rounded corner on the vertex. And that to me was like pretty cool, because it's like, oh my god, you can make corner radiuses look good. That is the kind of thing that excites me. So, and I'm like, cool, I know I can make the vertex move and I can make it look nice. That's kind of cool. I mean, like, you can play around with all of this stuff, and that's kind of how I started playing with all these ideas. Again, all these points are moving independently from each other, and I've got nice rounded corners, which is like, oh my god, so cool. Honestly, I like did a lot of graphic design, so like rounded corners gets us excited for some reason. You know what I'm talking about. And yeah, and that face, I think I was going through something, so I just wanted to always have a smiley face on there. I haven't missed enough sessions to find out why that was, but I like it. Anyways, the artist I was talking about earlier, Jonathan the Drop in the Corner, so this is one of his gifts. He actually ironically started doing these animation things during the pandemic as well. He wants to push his animation. And he started making these, like, you guys can look him up. He's amazing. He's an amazing cell animator, again, based in London. He's given a lot of talks, and he actually saw the project at the end of it, and he actually quite liked it. And I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. Anyways, he was a great source of inspiration for me, especially because this project took me 1.5 years, like, to finish. One, because I had a full-time job at the time, and also because I just didn't want to just stay inside and make 3D renders and animate the whole time. I had friends, I think, and I wanted to do stuff, and I wanted to live, and that was a moment of growth for me. I didn't want to just make stuff, I wanted to live. Today is probably not the best backdrop for that, but believe me, there were summers where I was like very keen to go out and do stuff. And yeah, there were a lot of setbacks. Blender is great, but it does have some issues. Half the 3D animations are actually done in Cinema 4D. Sorry. But it was like, Blender was still fun to get back to and play with. And yeah, a lot of crashes. Blender and both Cinema 4D crashed a lot. Some days I was super tired. I couldn't even function at work. And the simple deform, which was quite pivotal, is trash still to this day, sadly. I hope someone brings up to the Blender developers that it's trash and they're working it. But despite all the issues, I was still like looking at this deceivingly simple GIF or art style that I was really inspired by. And I was just like, fuck it, let me just keep going on, keep pushing, and see if it gets there, even if it takes me 1.5 years, which it did. Fast forward 1.5 years or more later, I finished the project, and I'm proud of it. Not because it turned out great, because I don't know. I mean, great is subjective. I like it, and it's like, it's me, like, it's actually funny. I was showing my niece, who's 4, like the purses reel of it, and I was like super stoked. It's like quite playful and colorful, and she had no reaction to it whatsoever. It kind of broke my heart a little bit, but I was still proud of it nonetheless, because it is the most Abraham thing I've ever done. And obviously you guys don't know me, but I like to be playful and colorful and make shit. Sorry again, just swearing. But yeah, it's probably the best representation of the kind of stuff I wish to do more in the future, and like some of my personality as well. And yeah, like I enjoyed playing with this. It was fun. I learned a lot. I still have a lot more to learn that I realized through doing the project, but it was fun. It was fun, and it was like, during this period, I was telling a lot of people the kind of stuff I wanted to do more of, which I think we're all guilty of. Like, you tell people, oh, I want to travel more, I want to do modeling, or I want to do painting, but you don't actually do it. And this was me like holding myself accountable to actually do the thing. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it with all its flaws. And it even got me like a tiny award at Adobe MAX last year. They flew me to LA. I thought it was a scam at first. I got an email. I was like, oh, I'm not falling for this again. And yeah, it was cool. This project became what it became thanks to the sound designers that took time out of this very busy schedules to actually help me do sound design on this. So it honestly wouldn't have turned out the way it did if it wasn't for those people and the people that fed back on it. So yeah, it's just that's why I had said the tag on the far left, Abraham E and friends, because this wouldn't have been possible without the friends that helped me on the project, but also the ones that kind of reminded me to not be taking myself too seriously outside of the project. Maybe this is getting too deep, but I don't know, sometimes we get bogged down on this kind of things, and it's nice to have cool people around you to remind you that it's not all about work. And how am I doing on time? Great. That was a trick question because I'm done actually. So thank you. Thank you for listening to me.